All right, guys, PTWOD week 10. So last week we opened up getting into the shoulder. Don't forget, any questions, John at calsopt.com. Message me on Facebook at Calso Physical Therapy, CALSO, or on Instagram, just shoot me a message. I always answer them. So last week we came over to the band and we opened our shoulder up doing some stretches and different things like that, right? This one. So I want you to kind of get your shoulders moving whenever you're doing your mobility stuff and stretch. I always like for you to stretch after, especially with stuff like that. Today we're going to talk about rolling. So we have the stick, we've got a lacrosse ball, and we've got a foam roller. And we're going to learn how I like to roll and release trigger points, because that's really what we're trying to do, right? So the stick is something that I've started to use a lot more recently because it allows me to get into the shoulder more than I ever have with a roller and a lacrosse ball. But what it also does is if I'm in a place and I'm sitting for a while and I have a way to lay on the ground or things like that, I can use this to really find spots in the shoulder, and right there's a good one on me, and release stuff. And I'm not really using any arm, just my weight of my arms helps push into it. So it's got a bunch of different ridges on it and spots like this. This is literally called the stick. So this is a great purchase for people who want to have another way to do it. I don't sell these, so don't worry about me selling you on it. So one of the things that I like to release, when you look at your shoulder blade, and I use this to look at my scapula, when you look at your shoulder blade, it kind of comes around like this, right? Well, the infraspinatus is a big muscle right through here that really gets knotted up on people. This is a great way to get into it if you don't have a place to lay down. So I literally will just use this, get into that spot, and just hold it. If it's uncomfortable, you found a good spot. You'll know when you're not on it, you'll hit a spot and it won't really feel like it's doing much. So that's a great way to release it. If you ever want to know more, there's a lot of stuff with other people that show a lot about the stuff with this. But this has been a recent favorite of mine because I can also do things. There's a muscle underneath. Your shoulder blade, when your arm comes up, sticks out. And so the muscle underneath is a subscapularis. I'm really not going to get too technical. But this stick does a really good job of getting in there. I do it manually when I have clients. I'll stick my thumb in there and release it that way, and it works really well. But not everybody has access to me or a physical therapist, right? So I use this and get in there this way by sitting on it and just release that muscle. Like right there is really painful on me because it's knotted up. This is the shoulder I had surgery on, so I'm still working through a lot of my own issues, right? So that's another way to get into that. I like to hit a few spots in the back whenever I use a lacrosse ball. I like that infraspinatus. I like to release some of the muscles up at the top here. We talked about a few of them whenever we were going through the neck through PTWOD 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. But today I want to show you how to do it. So when we talk about rolling out, this is not rolling out. Just rolling back and forth and not really doing much, kind of working through it. That does help some, but it's not really going to release the trigger point. At least it hasn't helped me any clinically. Whenever I'm going to release trigger points clinically and I'm in there, I always have to find it and stick to it. When you talk about ART or you talk about doing any kind of trigger point release, you always have to find the spot and sit there. You know, the research is wishy-washy on it, but you feel better when you do it. So I feel like a lot of people get benefit from it. So I still encourage it because people like it and it works and it helps decrease pain. And if we decrease pain, our muscles are going to work better, and that's what we want, right? So right now I found a little sticky spot in my lats. So my shoulder blade, the whole shoulder blade is above the roller, and I'm just in there on a spot that doesn't feel very good, and I'm just smashing it. And I'm not going anywhere. And I'm just relaxing as much as you can when you're in pain for a little while. Some people, you'll feel, and now it's starting to release on me. Some people take longer, some people take less. You know, usually it's like 30 seconds to a couple minutes or whatever it is. You'll be on a spot and you'll feel it release. Well, that's what you should do, right? Because my muscles are going to be different than your muscles. So you always have to do what works for you. When it comes to the shoulder, I always like to release the lats. I like to release the pecs because these are just so overreactive on people and they get so tight. So my favorite way to release the chest is I'll actually take that ball and stick it right in my muscle there, come up to something, and for me I like to go lower so I can really lean into it, and just find a spot and just stick to it. The thing about rolling is people get so aggressive and they get so impatient. Instead of finding a spot that feels uncomfortable and sitting on it until it releases, they find a spot till it's uncomfortable and they kind of roll up and down and you just get off of it. Stay there. Relax. It's like your meditation time, right? If you do it, you could get into some movement. This is similar to what they do with some ART. So this is a way to self-manipulate the muscle, right? So I always like to hit in the chest. We're talking about pec minor. You can come up underneath the collarbone here and trying to get somewhere in there. You'll find it. I mean, if you have a muscle that's got a little dysfunction or it's got some trigger points in it, it's easy to find. So you just get in there, whatever feels uncomfortable to you, right? So I like this spot, I like this spot. I always hit underneath the shoulder blade in the lats with a big roller. It tends to just do it better for me. And then I use the lacrosse ball to get into the little rotator cuff muscles in the shoulder. So one will hit infraspinatus. And this will be the last thing I give you today. So I pointed to the spot with the stick. So now I'm going to release it with the ball. So I do the same thing and I just try to find that spot. There it is. And you sit on it. And once you feel it relax and get into it like that and it releases, start doing some arm motions. Just slowly doing it. So I'm not trying to crank out reps of anything here, right? I'm just kind of moving into it. And that movement is going to help work it more and get into it more, okay? If you have any other questions about rolling or anything like that, just email me or message me. You know, last week we stretched out. This week we're rolling. Next week we're going to start to get into some stability, strengthening stuff that I like to do. This is a great way to get warmed up before a workout. Do this, or a great time before you have a tennis match or a golf tournament or anything like that. Get in here, roll. It really facilitates the muscle and gets it moving. So then whenever you start getting moving and doing stuff, you know, it's just going to move better, okay? So get after it. Let me know how it goes. Keep messaging. Keep sending me stuff. I'll see y'all next week.